this is John Young with the Photo Booth News TV, PBN TV, and tonight we're going to be looking at getting your things ready to go to the bank to go and talk to them about a loan. The different things you need to do to get ready to basically finance your business. That's on tonight's show on PBN TV. And now it's time for Photo Booth Live Chat with John Young. Hey, this is John Young with the Photo Booth News TV. Tonight, we're going to be talking about getting yourself and your business ready for that time when you need financing. We're going to look at a lot of different things in tonight's show. We're going to kind of start and progress to that point of getting yourself ready to go to the bank to seek that financing. But there's a few things I want to cover before we get to that. We're going to get into this right away with tonight's show. Before we do that, though, I wanted to just remind you, if you are going to be getting into the photo booth business, the thing you need to be going to is Photo Booth Expo 2020 or 2021. We do this every February. February, Las Vegas, South Point Casino. It's one of the biggest events in the mobile entertainment world you're going to find. photoboothexpo.com. If you want to get tickets for this year's show, go to PBN TV. That's our website, pbntv.com/tickets. Then enter the promo code PBX Show, SHOW 2020. That will get you the best price on the ticket, the full key pass right now that will get you into the seminars, to get you into the exhibit hall, get you into the parties, everything. And that information is down in the description of this video. pbntv.com/tickets. PBX Show 2020 is your promo code, and you're there. Okay, so let's jump into tonight's show. Going to be talking a little bit about getting yourself ready to seek funding for your business. And of course, there's a variety of different sources that a person could use for funding your business. The funding is basically the lifeblood of a business, especially when you're first starting out. And you get to this idea and you're like, I think I can make money with it, but you need to find some funding for it. And there's a variety of different things. We're going to be looking at one in particular, but first off, there's things called unsecured bank loans. And what that is going to a bank and basically them giving you money just because you're a nice person, for lack of a better way to describe it. They aren't taking any collateral. They don't have any kind of a lien on anything. It's an unsecured, meaning it's that credit cards are commonly unsecured loan type things, but a business loan for an unsecured amount like that can happen. Very unusual. It doesn't happen, especially in the startup world. You have to have a track record. You have to be there for a long time. Yeah, DJ Expo, there was a gentleman who was a banker, and he talked about things such as this, and it just doesn't happen much anymore. An unsecured bank loan is out there some. Most loans from a bank are secured, meaning that they have collateral. They have, most times on a small business, they're going to ask for not so much a second mortgage, because if your first mortgage, and they don't want that. You're probably looking at cars, boats, campers, things such as that. Personal items that you can basically use as collateral to do that. Yes, they might take equipment, but equipment is generally 10 cents on the dollar value-wise. It's going to be those personal items that they want to find things that they can have for collateral that they can turn around and sell quickly to get their money if they need to get to that. So those are, and it's supposed to be loan, not load. Bad typing. Small Business Association also has some loans, and there are different types of civic groups that are initiative funds and things that have loans available for startup businesses, and sometimes for businesses that are expanding. Say if you're expanding from hiring one person to 10 people, there are initiative funds here in Minnesota that would help getting into that. Small business loans are certainly a possibility, and many banks are very familiar with those and could help with that. Microloans are kind of considered like a payday loan where you go in there and you get like $500 quickly to pay a bill, and then you got to pay them $550 next week. The interest rates are high. Those are considered microloans, and those are something you probably don't want to be thinking about when it comes to your business, but they do exist out there. Personal loans are things that you can loan your own business or something to that effect, where basically I'm gonna loan my business to $5,000 to get started, and then the business will pay me back over time. And that is also a way of funding the business. You may have a business where you want to have more, you might have investors. You do a corporation and you have people buying shares into it, going that route, or you may have it where they're just investing their money and you're kind of keeping track of it and paying them back over time, where they're getting equity into it. There's a variety of different ways to do that. Crowdfunding is probably one of the more popular ones right now. Interestingly, is how the younger generation, the Gen Z, Gen X, Gen Z, millennials, I don't know, whatever they are, the youngest ones who are coming up here, how they are adapting to crowdfunding. And it's basically they get an idea and there's a crowdfunding. Hey, can everyone chip in $10 and I could go and buy a brand new set of oils and sell oil, whatever. Crowdfunding is a big one. Generally, crowdfunding is done with a website where people can go out there, they can contribute money towards this. The website takes a fee out of that, and it's kind of like a credit card fee, and then you get the money from that. It's not tax deductible on their side, but you will get, if you get people who will donate to it, you will get your money. But again, there's rates generally are from 5%, and I've seen as high as 10% on crowdfunding websites. Business grants, getting back to that Small Business Association, SBA loan, and the initiative groups, sometimes there are business grants. Or cities, if you're going to be coming in and opening up an office and adding 10 jobs, some cities will actually have grants and such available for business growth and development. And I've even known some entertainment companies who have gone into a community and it opened up an office in town, and they were able to get some tax incentives and some grants within the community if they continued to have their office and their employees and such in that town for, I think it was 5 years. So that's out there. And a final way that you really, I think it's the final one, but anyway, one of the ways you really don't want to have to finance your business, but it could be possible, is doing credit cards. Some credit cards have got incredibly high interest rates. Some are very competitive with the interest rate on that. That's also a possibility, but it's not a great one. Probably the best one, if you were going to be seeking financing, is to be connecting with family and friends. I say it's the best one is because if something happens, you're not going to probably ruin your credit rating. The negative thing is when you start loaning money or something between family or friends, generally my thought always is, and I'm going to get on the soapbox here for a moment, if I'm going to loan you $1,000 for your business or for whatever it is, my thought is that I'm going to give you $1,000. I have no thought of getting that $1,000 back, because if I expect you to pay that $1,000 back in 10% interest, and if you're late on a payment or don't pay it back, it's going to ruin our friendship. It would be better for me to say, here, you know what? Here's $1,000. It's a gift. Take it. And if you do pay it back, wonderful, and that's all fine and good. But I'm not expecting that payment back, because I don't want to be the one to hold that grudge and have that feeling in my heart that, well, they said they were going to pay it back in 6 months, and now it's month 7, and I haven't seen my $1,000. When you come to dealing with family and money, it's not a smart thing, but business-wise, it could function. But I would really highly try not to do that one, just because you can ruin relationships, and you really don't want to do that one. So let's get the process of starting that financing of what you're going to need to do to get going on that. In order to, you got to kind of be getting your mental processes in line as far as when you're wanting to go and search for financing. You really need to kind of dig into, why do I need this financing? What am I going to be going to be needing this financing for? And then there's a cost to that financing. Is that, that interest rate that I'm going to be paying for, or relationships that may change because I'm now borrowing money from someone? There's a cost. There might be a loan origination fees and such involved with that. There are costs involved with that. And maybe tying up my truck, and I want to trade my truck off every 2 years, but now my truck is tied up in this loan. There's a cost to doing it. There's also a cost if you were looking to, say, expand your business. There could be a cost in not expanding your business and not taking out this loan. So you really have to dig into the thought process behind this and make sure this is a logical, not an emotional, but a logical business decision before you really go much further than that. Then you're going to need, okay, so I decided that there is a cost, and I think the cost is valid, and you're going to have to really calculate what your need's going to be. You're going to calculate that need to be $1,000. Well, you may calculate it to be $2,000, and then you only need $1,000. What ends up happening sometimes, businesses calculate and they think, oh, I'm going to need a loan for $50,000 for a line of credit. And they only use $5,000 of that line of credit because they didn't need the whole thing. And that actually will come and bite you in the butt down the road, because your bank they have to pay money to do that line of credit, and the bank is not going to be happy with your head if you're going to try to take out a larger loan and not utilize the whole thing. So calculating your need and being as accurate as possible is very, very important, not only from your dollars and cents, but keeping your loan, the bank and such happy with that. You also have to be kind of aware of and monitoring your credit reports. You could have things on your credit report that's going to make it very difficult to impossible to be able to get out of the loan. Before you start going and talking to banks, you really should know what your personal credit report is. And you're going to say, well, but John, I'm going to be doing this for my business. What does it matter? Because 9 chances out of 10, since it's a smaller business, since it's probably a startup or a younger business, they're going to want to come back out and look at your personal finances, because you're going to probably most likely be having to guarantee money within that business from your personal side. So making sure that you're aware of where your credit scores are and where your credit report is really kind of critical in this day and age. So be aware and check on that. I'm just going to move a couple things. There we go. So then you want to go and spend a little time researching. Once you know that you do have a credit rating, you know an idea of how much you want to be able to borrow. There's a lot of different lenders out there. There's banks, there's credit unions, and there's many banks and credit unions just in your local area. Then there's many online options that are available from different lenders that are now able to work across the country. Spend a little time doing some research, finding out who's going to be able to give you the best bet or the best deal and the best process for this, and who's going to be able to do something for a long-term relationship. Because generally a business works best when it has a line of credit that you can go and borrow against and then repay and borrow against and repay. Having that long-term relationship is going to help your business many years, not just a one-time thing. So make sure you research that. Then you're going to need to start preparing the documents and such in the process. Once you found some of these lenders, that's basically filling out the application forms, getting those documents, getting those filled out, making sure you've got all the things. That could be, setting up an account. I have to first set up an account at this bank or with this lender. Then I have to fill out the application fees and getting all these different things. That's part of that process of getting it all together. Then, depending upon what type of loan you're going to have, most likely they're going to want you to have some collateral things. So you need to be kind of thinking about that. Do you have a boat, and is that boat something that you have already insured? So really, it's just going to be transferring that, writing it on a title in essence that it is collateral. Or do you have a truck or a second with it, whatever it is? You have to be ready with your title on the things that you're going to use for collateral, because you don't want to get there and they're like, oh, okay, you want a $20,000 loan. What do you have for collateral? And you'll be like, I got this really shiny belt buckle. You don't want to do that. You want to have an idea going in of what you're going to be able to bring to the table when it comes to the collateral. The banks are going to want some certain things when you go in there, and we're going to just kind of talk about that quickly. They're going to want to, of course, know that credit score. They're going to check that up, the credit score of you personally, especially if it's a startup. Then they're also, if it's an established, they're going to go and they're going to run a credit report on the business. 9 chances out of 10, it's going to be your credit score. If your credit score is like below 650, you're pretty much dead in the water. You're back to family and friends to finance or something to that effect. You're not going to get there. But know your credit score. Make sure, because this is one of the first things they're going to do. They're going to get your social security number and they're going to run that credit score. They're also going to know the age of the business. If your business has been around for 1 year, 5 years, just starting, they want to know, and they're going to want proof of it. They're not going to be able to, oh yes, I've been in business for 14 years. Great. Show me. That means that I'm going to have to show them Schedule C's or some sort of tax forms or some sort of business checking account or something to prove that I have been doing business for 15 years. I've been a photographer for 14 years. Well, did you have a business account? No, I ran through my personal account. Did you have invoicing, billing, anything? No, I just ran the cash through my account when I had, or checks through my account and cash in my pocket. That's not going to work. Your business in that particular view is probably going to be minutes to hours old compared to years of that. So you need to be able to prove the age and such of your business if it's going to be something more than just a startup. If you have annual revenue, you're going to need documentation of it, especially when you go to a bank. This is where small businesses really start to have problems, is because they've run it under their personal checking account, or they've run it in one way, shape, or form, or it's been cash and they've just taken the cash and stuck it into their pillow at night. You've got to have the revenue documentation, bank statement showing the income coming in. Otherwise, when banks are trying to prove these things and they're like, I can't see income coming in that I can really designate as income for your business, I can't do anything. They're also going to look at something called a personal debt to credit ratio. That means that I have an amount of debt to my name, car loan, home loan, whatever it is, some credit card debt. I have that over here. Then over here I have my credit, the amount of open credit that I have. So let's say I have $20,000 in car loans and different things over here. That's my debt. Over here, I have $50,000 of open or of credit. That includes part of the 20. So I've got really $30,000 of open credit here available. And then I have this. This is something that debt to credit ratio is something that banks and businesses look at to know, okay, is this person, are they maxed out? Are they kind of handling their money? It's more of a getting a better judgment of your ability to handle your finances than almost anything else. But that debt to credit ratio is something you will hear an awful lot. And there's some things they will add back with depreciation and some things they will take out as you're going through and dealing with this as a business. But having an understanding of what that is really, really quite important, because the banks will look at that. The operating income proof is going to be a big, and I kind of talked about that a little bit above, that you need to know and have it all come in, and you need to be able to show that the gross is everything that comes in, expenses, the net. You need to be able to show that there's a net. I can't go to a bank and say, hey, I want to go and take out a loan for $10,000 to add this new cool thing to my business. And they're like, great. What was your gross last year? $200,000. Oh, that's a lot of money. Great. What was your net? My net was $3,000 after I paid all my expenses. That's probably not going to get me that loan because I didn't have enough money coming in to really pay that loan back as things sit right now. And yes, there's little nuances. I'm being very simplistic with this, but that net operating, if it isn't there enough to be able to pay for things, they're not going to give you that loan. And then, of course, the collateral is another thing the bank is going to ask about. We talked about that before. Personal vehicles, things that they can easily turn. Property is something that very, very seldom is used as collateral. Yes, you can do a second mortgage on a place, but most places or banks don't really want to do that, especially when it comes to business, because if they have to collect their money, that means that they have to pay off the first mortgage people before they can get their second mortgage settled. And most banks just don't want to deal with that. Let's see. The final thing is, this is what the bank's going to want to know, is they're going to want to have an explanation of why, what you want the funding for. Have you thought through the whole process of the funding and how that's going to help your business, and then what you're going to use it for and how it's going to make you more money. This is getting into the whole concept of a business plan. And we're going to look at just a very simple business plan, a little quick one here. Yes, you can go through and actually make this. There's a really cool tool for making a business plan. It's out at SCOR, SCOR. I think, do I have it here? No, it's on the next page. That will help you in this, and we'll talk about that on the next page. But just just some things that are in a quick business plan, and you could actually put this together, kind of paragraphs on a page with a thought process. And this is something that the bank person would actually want to look at. That shows that you have thought through some of these things. The idea that basically at the beginning of it, you're going to be kind of presenting what the problem is. The problem is that there isn't entertainment options for the photo booth in my area. And what I can do to solve that problem is that there isn't no one's got a really cool photo booth. I can go and offer them these really cool photo booth experiences with my XYZ photo booth that I would like to use, buy with this financing. That's the beginning of it. How do we make money doing this? Well, I'll be able to rent this out. I'll be able to rent this photo booth out 2 times a week, 40 some weeks a year, and I'm going to be able to do this. And there will be a lot of people out there who'll do that. Who are your customers and how many of them, basically how many opportunities? Well, my customers are people who like photo booths and they are making, they do weddings and they do this, that, and the other thing. You can define that customer, that person. This is one of those areas you can really almost never spend too much time on this one to identify who your perfect client is, because as I mentioned in last week's show, is you go out and identify this person, and then you can go and do you'll find some little nuances within this group of people that you're going to target. And maybe you find out that these people that you are kind of envisioning as your customers, you find out that they love Tesla. As an example, I don't know, I'm just throwing this out there. You find out that that's a common thing, that everyone who would want your services loves Tesla. That way, when you start doing target marketing, you can utilize some of that information. So really digging into who your customers are and how many are out there. Maybe in my particular 5-mile area of my house, there's only 2 or 3 people. There aren't many. But maybe I know over in that part of the world, there are hundreds of them. And over in that part of the world, there are thousands, that kind of a thing. You need to know how many are out there, where they are, so you can target market to them when that time comes. The next part, after you've identified kind of the customers and how you're going to look at that, you got to talk a little bit more about how you are going to be different than everyone else that's out there. There's a lot of photo booth opportunities out there. How is what you're going to offer different? This is where the customer one is where the bank's going to look at a lot and say, well, they've obviously done their homework. They've really defined their common person, because the first 2 are easy. How do you make money? Selling it, easy. Our 4th one and the 5th one are the 2 big ones, because they basically, if you come into number 5 and how are you different than the other ones? Oh, we're going to be $50 cheaper than everyone else. Yeah, the bank's probably going to laugh as the banker, he or she throws that right out the door. You've got to have a thought out of how you are going to be different. What's that unique selling position that's going to allow you to make money with what you're going to be doing and not be just another one in the market? Then they're going to want to be able to in that business plan, see that how are you going to, much money and things are you going to need to start this business? Is $1,000 going to start it, and you're going to need $10,000 to operate it for the first year? You need to know how much it's going to cost to acquire, to start, labor costs, get everything up and running, marketing, and all these different aspects of it. And then once I'm up and running, how much it's going to cost to run the business for probably the first 12 to 18 months, because it takes 12 to 18 months before you can get really going. So they're going to want to see that you have thought about that process and either secured that funding or part of that funding, and then they can come alongside and help with that funding, or that somehow you're ready to go and they're just having to be part of the piece, not the whole piece of the puzzle when it comes to that. And then this is that 1 year time frame. How much money do you have to start off with it? Do you have 40,000 sitting? Do you have that? Because they're going to want to not only know how much money you have that you can dedicate to the business, but they want to make sure that you have enough money to live off from. Because if you don't have enough money to live off from, you're going to fail quickly, because it's like, okay, how do I pay my mortgage? Well, I got to pull the money back from the business. When I pull the money back from the business, I can't market. You need to have made sure that you have your reserve to be in the estimations and such for the timeline of making that profit. It all kind of goes together. And these things you got to be thinking about and be able to enunciate them clearly to the bank, whether it's in print or in the interview process, before they're going to really give you the time of day when it comes to doing your loan and financing. I mentioned score.org. They've got a spot there where they have a template for a full business plan, very elaborate, and it's really good if you want to go through and do all the work on that. If you had the time, I'd highly recommend it. If you don't, this is the executive summary of a business plan. Executive summary is basically the first part of the business plan. It's kind of like they put the answers at the front of the business plan, and then you can read the rest of the business plan, and this is the summary of it, executive summary. So most banks will, if you have the 20-page business plan, they'll just read the executive summary, and they may go look back later in a different spot if they want to, more for their curiosity's sake than anything, probably to see if you actually did it. but most are just going to look at the executive summary. So that's what we're going to look at in this little spot here. The beginning of an executive summary is an overview of your business idea. A couple of sentences. Hey, I'm going to sell the coolest photo booths in town because we're going to use pink lights in every photo booth. That's your beginning of your business idea. And then the description of the services, well, we're going to be doing a photo booth. It's going to be like this. It's going to look like this. It's going to have pink lights, and it's going to do that. And you're going to then also say, the reason I went this direction is because people are not getting enough pink light photo booths in our market. And we know that people love pink light photo booths, but they just don't have any. So we're going to be the solution of that. And that's the second part of your little business plan here. Then the goals for your business. What is your goal for the first 6 months, for the first year, 5 year? You go out about 5 years with this. What are the goals for sales? Am I going to, at my goal after the first 6 months is I want to be doing 3 sales a month, 5 sales a month, 10 sales, getting it out 5 or 6, 10, whatever it is. The goals for the business. So you can actually have something there in paper so they can say, ooh, look at that. They're going to be very aggressive and they want to have it. So they're selling by the end of the year, they want to be selling about 25 to 30 shows a month in this business, which means that they're going to be having to put a lot of work, a lot of time, and a lot of effort. Really what this becomes is a barometer for the people to look at and say, oh, this person has no clue. Or, wow, they're really not too motivated because they want to be selling 2 shows a month by the end of the year. Yeah, 2 shows a month isn't going to work. Or they think they can be selling 1,500 shows a month here by the end of the year. No, that's not realistic either. So, but that's the next part, is your goals for the business. And again, be intelligent about that. Think it through. The ideal market, the target market, the ideal customers, identifying them. That's the next part of this little document that we would be preparing. Again, this is a 1 or 2 page thing. It doesn't have to be, it's not a huge thing. It's just putting these thoughts in order as you're going through. How are you going to be different than the competition? What's that unique selling position that's going to really stand out and make people want to come and do business with you? This is the actual document. These would be, in essence, your paragraph. Not that you would use your management team, no. Every paragraph, this is kind of what that paragraph would be about. Talking about your management team. Who is that? President is me. Vice president's my wife. I'm going to have 4 staff members. Basically, who's going to be all involved with this process? I'm going to be head cook and bottle washer, and I'm going to do everything yourself. Well, that's part of you're then the management team, but you're really going to talk about the people who are going to make this business run on a day-to-day basis. You don't have to have names completely in there. Obviously, with like yourself, yes. But if you're going to be hiring somebody to be a secretary, you don't have to say, and I'll have a secretary, and her name is, Jim, or his name is Jim, and Jim's going to be the greatest secretary. You don't have it. We'll have, we're going to need an office manager. We're going to need an office assistant. We're going to need this. You can go through and identify what's needed for that team, and especially the management side of it. Then you're going to kind of look at the financial projections. Okay, if I'm selling the first couple of months, I'm selling 2, then I'm up to 10, then I'm up to 20. What are my financial outlook going to be for this business? When am I going to become profitable? When am I going to be able to pay expenses just to break even? Break even point, profitable point, and an expansion point. Those hopefully are all in that early part of the circle of the business. That's what you want to be talking about in this, that I project that I should be able to be breaking even by summer of 2021. And by the winter of 2022, I should be making so much money that I can retire to my own private island. 1 or 2 pages total of this. This is the topics. You could stop the video right here and kind of put this down. You talk about each one of these, paragraph or maybe 2 at most for some of these. This is the kind of information that you would actually take to the bank and put down on their desk and say, here, this is what I'm thinking about doing. Not too much, again, paragraph or 2 at most with some of these. Just the idea is you want to get that information, show that you have thought through these different parts of setting up your business when you go to the bank. Because if they see that you have thought through this and you have an intelligent need and you have the wherewithal to be able to make things work financially, you have the income potential coming in, you've got some money in the bank to start off with, it'll all work out pretty well. The flip side becomes is when you haven't put the time into it and you haven't put the resources into it and you're trying to start a business on a shoestring and there's nothing behind it, and you start the business and then all of a sudden you're broke because you don't have the money to do marketing, you don't have the money to do a little advertising here and there, you don't have the money to buy supplies and props or fix the car whatever it is. So make sure you're doing your due diligence when it comes to putting this kind of information together. Think through it, get it ready to go before you even talk to your family or friends about helping you finance one of your businesses. This is John Young with the Disc Jockey News and PBN TV, DJN TV and PBN TV. Thank you for watching tonight. We'll be back again next Monday night. Next Monday night, we're going to go through how to price your photo booth business. And this is kind of a tricky area for a lot of you. We're going to go through one model of setting your price for a photo booth business next Monday night here on PBN TV. Hopefully, you'll be able to join us either live or in replay. Yeah, replay. We'll go with that. That'll happen again at 8 o'clock. Let me see. No, it will be 9 o'clock Eastern next Monday night with how to price your photo booth business. This is John Young again from PBN TV. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.